Hello, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Arvanauts, of course, on my Twitch channel, and welcome, Speculate listeners, to another joint Speculate Twitch channel event. It is my great pleasure to welcome everybody to the episode 2 of our Blades in the Dark miniseries, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. I will say that if you are an audio listener and are wondering, what do you mean episode 2? I've been listening to a bunch of these. For you folks, each one of the Twitch sessions that we're doing is being broken down into 3, at least, audio shows. So for you, this will be episode 4, I think, if I counted that properly. And so welcome to all of you folks for listening to this amazing campaign, this little mini campaign that we have here. But for those of you who are not that, then you, of course, are the people that are watching the Twitch stream right now. And for you, this is episode 2 of this session. So welcome, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. Before I introduce the person, my co-host, partner in crime, Mike Underwood, who is going to introduce Brandon O'Brien, and then on from there to the rest of the players, I do want to remind everybody about ways to support us here. This is a joint Speculate Twitch event, so please check out our podcast, speculatesf.com. We do have a Patreon, and we would love to be able to see that go higher so that we can do more events of this sort, so please consider to jump on board and support us over on this Speculate Patreon. Again, that's speculatesf.com. And you can find out more details by, I believe, typing an ! Speculate into my Twitch chat here. In terms of this channel, though, you can also support us by following the channel here. You can support us by checking out our YouTube channel, ! ArvTube, which has the past episode of this mini-series. We have got ! ArvCord, that's my Discord channel where people hang out in between streams, completely free to join. ! ArvCord for that, and ! ArvTweets is my Twitter. If you're able to jump on board for that, that would be lovely as well. Thank you, Echo. I appreciate that. And of course, all of this can be found on my website, arvanelleron.com. Then on the financial side of things, ! ArvTreon is my Patreon, and you can support me over there, which is very much appreciated. Cool stuff for you and for the channel. ! ArvShop has merchandise from 2 of my other campaigns, my Infinity and Beyond campaign and my Adventures in Middle-earth campaign, and we're going to have stuff from my Esper Genesis campaign as well fairly soon. And then, of course, we have got the sub button right above that video window. You can subscribe to the channel, you can get inspirations for the players, you can get, which you can get from the Patreon too, you can get custom emotes and sub badges and cool stuff like that, and you can do that by clicking again on that sub button right above the video window. Just a quick note about scheduling here. So we've got Blades in the Dark miniseries going on tonight, tomorrow night, Monday night the 4th, at, I believe it is 7 p.m. Eastern. Sod will be back with episode 3 of Sword Coast Legends, starring Gromnir Grumblehammer, so you will want to check that out. That has been a lot of fun. Tuesday at 10 a.m., I'm very happy to announce another joint Speculate Twitch event, and that is going to be myself, Mike Underwood is the GM, and myself and 3 other intrepid players as we play a Star Wars Scum and Villainy miniseries, where I'm going to be playing, well, you'll see, but there's a little Mandalorian flair to it, I'll just say. That's going to be happening 10 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday, so please note the earlier start time. And then, of course, at 4 p.m. Eastern, I'll be back over on GOG with Pen and Pixels and playing some Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. So that's what we've got planned for what's going on. But now it is time for us to introduce the rest of them to you. And so I'm unmuting myself so they know that we're ready to go. And then I'm going to unmute them. And then I'm going to head over there, hoping I didn't interrupt any incredibly awesome conversation that was happening. And I'm going to head over there right now to the amazing crew. Again, I want to give a shout out to Shoutout Mage, who did this amazing overlay, and I'm so happy with it. And to these amazing players who talked way more about spectral adjacent crickets than I expected last time, but I cannot wait to see more examples of that as we go forward. And it's my great pleasure to introduce you all to Mr. Mike Underwood, my partner in crime, who is going to be taking over and introducing Brandon. So players, good luck. I cannot wait to hear what other crickets and shenanigans you get into. So Mike, floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. So welcome to our second episode of Speculate and Arvanelleron Presents the Case of the Cindered Seal, presented by Brandon O'Brien as our GM. So if you missed the first episode, we will do what we can to try to catch people up, but the best thing to do is going to be to go back and listen to the original episodes or watch the videos on demand. And without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Brian to give us our introduction.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us for yet another episode of The Case of the Cindered Seal. before we actually begin with our recap, I'll just ask everybody to introduce themselves, beginning with Mike.
All right, so I'm Mike Underwood. I'm one of the co-hosts on Speculate. I use he, him pronouns. You can find me on the internet at michaelrunderwood.com or at Mike R. Underwood on Twitter. I'm going to be playing Ring Dalmore, who is a disillusioned Akarosi war veteran, and using the Spider playbook. That's me.
And then Jeoi.
Hello, my name is Jeoi Gawain. You can find me at This Is My Design, DASEIN, on Twitter. I'll be playing Crossroads, who is totally a human and totally a whisper in this campaign.
And then Iori.
Hi, I'm Iori Kusano, Clarion West 17, fiction in Apex, nonfiction elsewhere, pronoun since she, her. I am playing Ashlyn Theros, who is an antiques dealer who definitely isn't selling cursed objects.
Okay. And next, Valerie.
Hello. I am Valerie Valdes. I'm the author of Chilling Effect and the forthcoming Prime Deceptions, some fun space opera for your life. You can find me on Twitter at Valerie Valdes. That's with an S, not a Z. And I am playing Carissa Skelcallen, aka Skelly, the Hound, Deadly Sharpshooter Tracker, and Eater of all of Crossroads.
And my name is Brandon O'Brien. Pronouns he, him, or they, them. I will be your GM for this evening. And to recap, last session on the case of the Cindered Seal, we had just attended the funeral of one Runa Casper, beloved in the entire city of Brightstone, well respected and well loved, having passed away from seemingly curious circumstances, which is why an inspector from the Bluecoats came to the funeral specifically to question Crossroads about their involvement, and in particular about a seal of some sort that is apparently of some importance. That eventually led to said inspector coming to Crossroads' apartment with backup in the attempt to, I guess, beat the answers out of them, which has not gone so well for those inspectors, and now Crossroads is on the run. But before we check in with Crossroads again, let's check in with Ring, who I'm going to say at this moment is just helping a neighbor run an errand. It's not that late in the evening. It's probably close to what counts as 6 p.m. And you're at a neighbor's house. I'm going to say something absolutely benign, like helping them put furniture together. This neighbor, by the way, has also been to the funeral, and is, as you're like nearing the finishing, like the tail end of this massive construction project that is like putting together this table, she just notes very idly that it's very nice that you go out of your way so often for your friends, Ring. You're a really nice person. Do you know that?
Oh, I wouldn't even be here if it weren't for friends. So rather than thinking about not being here, I just want to be here for people as much as I can and keep on being here. Plus, I don't think it would be possible to put this together with just one person, like holding like some elaborate thing. Maybe it's like no nail construction where it's like really intricate wood carving that fits together.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be able to direct force in several different directions at once to put it together. So Ring would like hold the thing out and then give one piece to the neighbor and say, okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3.
This is precisely a moment that it just dawns on me that I should ask you to make a fortune roll.
Okay. How many dice?
2 dice.
Ring is crushed to death by furniture. Game over. See y'all.
King is now
So
a ghost. Whoa.
I see a 6.
Okay, I'm going to say that was a success. Because if this were a partial success, I would say that I would have said that the finished product as you hold it up to the light looks less like actual furniture and more like an impressionist sculpture. But in that moment that we finally put in that final piece, it kind of like transcends in our collective view from this pile of wooden objects being slotted into each other to a finally finished table. And we put it back down. And the neighbor kind of chuckles to herself and says, "You're right. If it weren't for having another pair of hands and another pair of eyes on this could have been a sculpture fit for the museum or fit for the dump. Thank you so very much for helping me put this together. It's just not a lot of people over here actually care about each other, you know? We'll attend the same galas or go to the same cotillions, but other than that, we barely say good morning or good night to each other on the street. But not you."
Well, I found that it's much easier to get along and be invested in one another when you have some kind of shared goals. And it seems like in the high society game, maybe everyone has enough of their own goal that part of the reason that you have high society is to vie between those different goals. And I apologize if that's a mischaracterization. I'm not really the high society type, but soldiers talk.
Oh, you're a soldier.
Was.
How was that? What was that experience like?
Not good. That's probably the best way to talk about it.
It's a shame. And she very awkwardly puts her hand on your shoulder and says, "So many folk like you come back after those wars and are absolutely ruined, but you seem like the best of those. You seem like you have it all together, at least."
And at this point, I'd like to flash back.
Okay.
Like if we're kind of to more effectively introduce Ring, I think it makes sense to contrast Ring being like reserved and put together here with and this will likely be a more emotionally charged moment. So I want to encourage my fellow players to like tell me to pause or fast forward through something. Because I think the thing we flash back to is Ring like trying to shake a squad mate back conscious as they're dying in like a torrential downpour, and Ring like wailing at the death of another squad mate, and then hard cut back.
Does anything about your demeanor change in that precise moment?
I think like their mouth and their cheek kind of twitches a little bit, and the like the sound of the rain kind of carries forward from the flashback into the scene and recedes over the course of a few seconds, as Ring says, we all bear our scars in different ways.
Okay. I will say then at that moment, kind of poetically, that while you're saying that in like the scene of that moment as it's occurring on camera, it is still raining, and to you it feels like you're actually hearing it and actually feeling it, like it's happening to you live in that moment, as if you're split between the past and the present.
Yeah, I think I like look to a window to see if it's actually started raining.
Hmm. And
And like Ring's like heart is beating, like kind of kicks up several notches of tempo, and they kind of stand up and steady themselves. And I don't know how much the neighbor would notice because they've gotten very good at like not not losing it in front of other people.
the neighbor does not notice. But what also happens as this is taking place to you, as you're trying to like ground yourself in this moment, is that there is the sound of thunder in that further part of your brain as you're experiencing this. And as you hear it and you look at the window, you see Crossroads dashing across the street.
Okay. I think at that moment, or Ring would kind of put a couple of things together, but mostly I know this person, and if you're running like that, you're always running for a reason. Having grown up on the streets of Duskwall, and would turn to the neighbor and say, "Well, I'm very glad that we were able to spend this time together, but I should head out and attend to some other matters. If
Oh,
anything else
yes.
comes up, please just have someone leave me a note down at the docks. People know me
Yes,
there."
yes, yes. Thank you. And like she takes you by your hand and is like shaking it very generously, and she's like thanking you profusely, and she goes, "Are you sure you don't want me to pay you for this? Work is work."
Uh, I'll take the pay in the form of a donation to the orphanage down by the docks.
If you say so, I'll make sure to make that donation in the morning, as sizable as a one as my pockets can muster. Thank you so very much. And she lets go of your hand.
All right, and I think Ring kind of politely steps out, and as soon as the door shuts, kind of snaps to the direction that Crosswood was going and starts booking. Not like a desperate run, but like, okay, now it's time. We're just gonna run.
Okay. By the time that you literally turn to face the street, Crossroads has cleared like 2.5 blocks since you've seen them. That's how fast they're moving.
Okay.
I don't need to breathe to run. How are you gonna catch me
now?
I mean, I do need to breathe.
Right.
I love oxygen.
So yeah, I think Ring wants to catch up, but if Crossroads is just moving so fast that they're not going to be able to catch up without conniving, then I would want to try to kind of use local knowledge to figure out a place where I could run through an alley to get around the crowds of, whatever, like a post-work or almost dinner time crowd, to be able to cut them off.
Okay. I will say, for the purposes of such an action, I should ask you to roll for some kind of knowledge you may have about this area.
I would be happy to roll study or survey, which I have dots in. I could also see this being prowl, but I would frame it in terms of Ring is calling on local knowledge rather than is trying to outrun.
Which strikes me more as study, but prowl also technically works in my brain.
Yeah, I think maybe prowl.
How very weirdly prowl is worded in Blades. It does, in fact, strike me as a very valuable place to gain this information as well.
Yeah, prowl might be more effective for trying to catch up, but
yes.
I think the way that Ring would do it would be to try to remember the right alley to run through.
Okay, so I would say that that's more likely than not study.
Is this an action roll or a fortune roll?
It is an action roll. I will say that your position is it risky? Nah, it's controlled. Um, but your effect is limited because there is still a ways away. And there is a chance that Crossroads may still have a lead on you depending on um what your answer might be.
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and push to get a +1d because I'd rather succeed with lesser effect than fail
Okay.
entirely. So I'm going to roll study and controlled position with limited effect and 1 bonus die. Nope, still a 3.
Both of those things are failures. I'm going to say, and this is more a dramatic failing than like something that is like literally your fault, which is you approach an intersection thinking that you might be able to turn left and gain an advantage in that direction, and as you turn, you are back in that torrential downpour in the trenches of that war. No one is immediately around you, but you just see the rain and this massive, sprawling field of battle in front of you. And you blink and it's gone, but you've totally lost your footing at this point. You have no idea where you are in the general scheme of things anymore.
I think Ring would kind of walk casually over to a building, kind of touch it to ground,
Mm-hmm.
and then scan the intersection and spot someone that they work at the docks with. And I want to roll consort to basically tap, almost go to dodge of tracking Crossroads down by talking to people who notice, and then do end the scene with Ring arriving where Crossroads is, maybe a little bit later, rather than actually chasing Crossroads down.
Okay. Give me a consort roll then. I will say that your position is... I'll say your position is controlled and your effect is standard.
Okay. Could I get a devil's bargain where I get a +1d, but the fact that I was asking around for somebody with a Crossroads description, like ticks a clock of some like unwanted attention? Like either blue coats or some other faction?
I mean, you make a very good case. Because giving other people's Crossroads description means that other people know Crossroads description. Yeah. And you would know at this point that if Crossroads is running, somebody's looking for them.
Ring, why would you do this? I ignored you faithfully.
Yes, I would say that that's a 6-segment clock. That has ticked once.
I think this will help keep the story moving forward, and I really would like to succeed at this role.
Okay, yeah. Go right ahead and take.
So controlled, standard effect, 1 bonus die. Come on, dice.
And
okay,
the dice
that's a partial success.
Wow, that's definitely a partial success. The game really wanted you to know you've gotten that much. So yeah, I'm gonna say that because it's a partial success, I'm going to say that it takes a while, but not that much of a while. where you could have potentially still gotten close to Crossroads while they were still running, you have now gathered enough information that takes you all the way to the outer edge of Brightstone, where there is a, like a portion of like semi-walled um, bay area, where beyond that is just whatever like small portion of the void sea between Brightstone and the other cities of Duskfall.
Mhm.
And you meet Crossroads sitting on that like partially walled area, trying to regain their own composure. Crossroads, what exactly are you doing as you're sitting down there?
If Ring was watching Crossroads, he would have seen it keep running and keep running and keep running until it got to a point where it would not be safe to keep on running in a straight line. And then it would stop and then appear kind of at a loss / confused, and then sit down because that's what you do, right?
That's what you do when you stop moving. You sit.
Yeah, that's what you do. Crossroads is real smart. Yeah.
Perfectly human decision that was made there.
Mhm.
Do you see Ring approach you?
That depends on how Ring is approaching me.
I think Ring would approach at an angle to be able to be seen instead of sneaking up.
Okay.
So like approaching like dead on as opposed to from the side.
Yeah, like from at least like a front
Mhm.
90 field of view, and would try to like catch Crossroads' attention without drawing too much draw attention in the like, hey, I'm a friend way, as opposed to the something that would draw more attention from whoever else is around.
Mhm.
So Ring may or may not notice the lenses and the bird head sockets go at their approach. And Crossroads, what does Ring look like? Is Ring wearing like a uniformy type thing, or just your regular average citizen type thing? Like basically, do they have any kind of insignia on them or something like that?
I think they don't wear like military garb, but if Crossroads would know or could remember basically like the kinds of tattoos that soldiers get for their unit, then you might see one on like the back or the inside of a forearm, because they wear what did I actually write here? Tall boots, like skirt and blouse, and a hooded coat, because they came from the funeral, so they're wearing kind of nicer clothes, but not clothes that scan like as I'm associated with Akarosi official crap.
Okay. Well, Crossroads, I guess, doesn't really get what tattoos are because crows don't have them, so not important. So Crossroads sees Ring approaching and looks around and sees there's nobody else that Ring could be approaching for, and sits super neatly and invisibly so Ring doesn't smell fear.
Just like humans do.
So Ring would kind of approach and sit close enough to talk, but not so close as to like be in Crossroads' space. So, you know, like
how close is that?
About like it's like social distance, like
okay, so about like 2 velociraptors worth of space.
And and say that was a lot of running.
Crossroads panics because it doesn't know how much running is a lot of running for a person. But this person is saying that was a lot of running. So, yes, says Crossroads. That sure was a lot. Yeah.
This can be a scary city.
Yeah. Says Crossroads.
So like Ring is kind of going through like chill scoundrelly talk and maybe realizes between the last conversation and this that maybe that doesn't work.
Yep, because Crossroads body language, which is super meaty and squishy, has not changed one bit. It's almost statuesque. Ha 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 ha. It doesn't say that.
You're a friend of Skelly's, and Skelly's a friend of mine. So if you're in trouble, I can help you.
Says Crossroads. And then actually turns its head to look at Ring because, well, Skelly, would you have ever mentioned Ring?
I don't know if I would have talked about them previously, but I believe we interfaced briefly at the funeral. So you might remember them from the funeral. But it's possible because if Ring gets around as much as it seems like, doing good deeds and stuff, then Skelly might have at some point been like, oh yeah, they're always building tables and crap.
Okay, because in my mind, the only time that Crossroads and Skelly really interact is when Crossroads has cooked a lot of food and Skelly is eating all of the food, which kind of stopped the talking part. So I'm going, did you ever actually talk?
I mean,
I would like to think that a lot of food actually means a lot of opportunities to talk. Just also punctuated by food.
I was gonna say, I can also believe that Skelly would just be shoving food in her mouth the whole time and be like, all right, thanks. See ya.
That's the entire nature of the transaction. You just come to the apartment, eat and leave.
That works for Crossroads.
It's possible that at some point Skelly was like, I'm gonna take some of these leftovers to my buddy Ring because they're always handing food out to the poor and stuff. They know people who need it.
Okay. So I will say Crossroads remembers that particular conversation and kind of sticks its hand, which is normal, into its coat and hands out a kind of singed bag that's filled with singed funeral food to Ring.
Oh wow, that was also there. Okay.
Kelly's gonna be real sad.
And
does it still smell like cinder?
Probably. It also probably smells like burned insect of some kind, charred cardboard.
I mean, yeah, when you lift the bag, there are literally a small smattering of dead crickets still like shifting loose from the top of the bag.
Right. And I think like Ring thinks about like there wasn't a cricket dish at the funeral.
Oh god.
Like, that's a thing that like it makes sense for them to eat that in Duskwall. So like I don't think it's weird to Ring that like it's food. I think it's more the like I don't remember there being that dish there.
That and if crickets were being prepared, it wouldn't be the whole cricket.
Yeah, like or they'd be candied in some way.
Yeah.
And so I think Ring said, if you're in trouble, we should get off the street.
Crossroads is still holding out this bag of seared food. And
Ring will take the bag, yeah.
Oh. And upon Ring taking the bag, Crossroads would have been like, you can give that To the poor. Like
Thank you.
Skelly said.
Thank you. That's very kind. There's a lot of people who this could help, or a smaller number of people with a big appetite. You should see what the kids eat.
Leftovers. Skelly is heartbroken.
Oh wow. And from that moment, what happens next? I presume you're going to head somewhere in particular.
Yeah, I think. Would Crossroads know where Skelly lives and/or works?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Skelly at this point would be looking for Crossroads. Like, even if Skelly took some time to go into the apartment to just kind of poke around and see what was in there, at some point she would start looking, trying to hunt down Crossroads. So I leave that to you, Brandon, to decide what an appropriate dramatic moment is for her to arrive. But
yeah, I think Ring would like to try to connect connect Crossroads and Ring with Skelly.
Mm-hmm.
Out of character, I was thinking that if the seal thing came up, that would be Ring's prompt to go and talk to Ash. But for lack of that, I do think it makes sense for us to try to start gathering the party overall. So I would propose that we maybe cut or wipe to when Ring and Crossroads can meet up with Skelly, if that's something Crossroads would do.
Crossroads would basically do whatever Ring suggests, unless it's something that strikes it as immediately dangerous in some way.
Okay, yeah.
Because Crossroads' primary goal is to not let Ring know what it's got under this coat, but so it will be super agreeable to any plan.
So what I will say makes the most sense under these circumstances is that Ring would take Crossroads back to their apartment, well, back to wherever they stay. And it also just makes sense to me that Skelly, having not found Crossroads yet, like having no idea where Crossroads went, would have gone to Ring anyway to go, hey, my friend is missing. Can we talk about this? Only to realize that Crossroads is in fact just sitting in the den, just waiting patiently for more instructions. Yes. So we're going to wipe precisely to that moment when Skelly knocks very insistently on Ring's door.
Yeah, and I think Ring lives probably on the ground floor of like a worker's house, down like near the docks, but their apartment is probably more lived in, and we can see from like old carpets and things like that this is actually this is like a multi-generational household for Ring, that older generations lived here and they have come back to it and taken it over from older generations of Dalmores. So it's a bit more lived in than maybe the other apartments in this workers block. And they would have handed the food out already to like basically divided it up a couple of other households in the block, and would have changed into kind of black and gray tone clothes, expecting that there's going to be work to be done, and so would open the door with kind of like rolled up sleeves, having had like cooked separate food for themselves, because all the other food was given away, and probably looks visibly relieved as soon as they realize that it's Skelly. I was hoping you'd come by. Your friend's here. And like
Crossroads is like sitting in the furthest possible corner, like
step back and kind of gesture Skelly in. I've got a stew on.
Oh, good. I mean, hi. So what kind of stew?
It's just leftovers, bits and bobs.
Oh,
fish, says Crossroads.
Nice. I could go for a fish.
But and they'll like go back to go over to the stove, but then reach under and pull out a bottle of. I mean, like the Spider Playbook has this thing, so we might as well drink well, like a fine bottle of whiskey.
Nice.
Yeah. You just
And,
have a bottle of whiskey just for being a spider. Yeah.
and I think most of the whiskey that that Ring has is gifts of appreciation given by various people. So like sometimes Ring asks for people to donate things, and sometimes people give specific gifts. And in that case, Ring does not tend to turn them down. Ring will either distribute them, but maybe as we see, like if our camera follows Ring, like there's probably a half dozen of those bottles. Like
I was literally thinking the same thing, that we pan down to the drawer, the cupboard door that you open to retrieve this bottle of whiskey, and we're going to say that it's been recently opened, that you've probably poured a glass or two from this bottle, but behind it are just like 3 or 4 rows of other even better bottles of whiskey that have been there for even longer, that you just haven't drunk because you don't care, and you just
there's one on like a back top shelf that's a much smaller bottle, but it's like carved glass, like almost like crystalled glass, and it has like a military insignia on it.
Crossroads likes that bottle.
And I'm going to put that bottle on the mantle, and we can come back to it later.
Sorry. It's Chekhov's brand whiskey.
Chekhov's brandy. And pour several fingers of whiskey and set them down on a table for Skelly and Crossroads. And
Crossroads starts sweating.
I take Crossroads glass.
I mean, Crossroads cannot sweat, but I'll allow it.
Crossroads can sweat.
Crossroads doesn't drink.
Is made of meat.
Is it ectoplasmic sweat?
Yes.
It's water and salt sweat.
Water condenses on Crossroads' brow, which technically resembles sweat. I'll allow it.
Their temperature drops.
Yes.
Crossroads, you don't know me and you don't have any reason to trust me.
Nah.
But you know Skelly and I know Skelly. And I'm hoping that that connection is enough for you to be open with me. Because if you're in trouble, we need to start doing something about it now, because the Bluecoats are probably going to be coming back. Whoever that was hassling you is not going to stop. That's not how they work.
I look at Crossroads' chest and I'm like, maybe don't be too open. That seemed to maybe be causing problems before. I'm kind of staring at its chest now. Like,
Crossroads' coat, by the way, is fully buttoned up by this point, and it notices Skelly being mean, and like crosses its arms over its chest like a mummy, very protectively.
I can't help you unless you tell me what you need.
This is a very good point to remind Skelly, just idly, that Skelly would have heard the majority, but not all, of the conversation at the apartment.
Yeah, no, and also apparently saw Crossroads' chest open, and
yes, also did in fact see.
And so yes, Skelly remembers things. Do we don't need to flash back for it, but was Skelly in the area long enough to go back into Crossroads' apartment to do just a quick search of it to try to see if she could figure out what the cops were looking for?
I remember that you said that you hadn't left that area until you were absolutely sure where the cops were going. So I can say that if you wanted to go in, we can definitely do a flashback for that.
Okay. I would just want it to be very quick, do like a quick roll. And if there's anything of interest, obviously she doesn't know Skelly's apartment. She's been there before enough times to kind of be familiar, but she doesn't know what the cops were looking for. So nothing may even stand out.
Okay.
That'd be a study roll, probably.
I would say that it would be, in fact, a study roll.
Yeah, and I have no dots in study, so again, I probably am not going to see anything.
So only first, before we actually decide the roll, I will say that for the flashback, I will say that you take 1 stress.
Okay.
It would be too stressed, but since you don't have any dots in study, I'm not going to torture you.
All right.
Hmm.
And what's my position? Is it risky or is it worse?
I will say also that survey is also a very useful action that if you want to take that instead, either of those two will work.
I mean, I definitely have plenty in survey. And so I was just looking at the details on it. It seemed like study is more like gathering information from stuff, researching. Survey, I guess it could be just like.
Both of them are very useful tools to
Yeah.
gather information. So feel free to use whichever one you think is best.
Okay, I mean, I'll go survey then, just because I have dots in it, I guess. But
yes.
But yeah, I think arguably, I would not expect to find much anyway. So
and I will say that your position is risky.
Okay.
And your effect is
I guess I would probably be looking for if there's any sign that the cops were looking at something. That would probably be what I would be looking for. Like knowing enough about Crossroads Department, the only thing I would be looking for is like, did the cops touch something? Is something moved? Like something that seems like it's not where it's supposed to be, I guess.
Yeah. So I'll say that your position is risky and your effect is limited. Because the place is now in a mess and is still quite dark.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to take too long because I also don't want to not be able to find Crossroads again.
So you may push yourself or take your devil's bargain if you wish.
No, I'm just gonna hurt. I'm rushing through this, so.
Okay. Ooh, still got a 5, partial success. The interesting thing about this is you don't find what the cops were looking for because what the cops were looking for was not there. So you have no inclination one way or the other. But you do find that among all of the particularly ruined mess in the main room, you notice specifically 2 things. That there is a book on the bookshelf that has a piece of paper roughly the size of the book itself, like half of the book, like a good 4-inch by 4-inch square of paper that has been torn off from something. And on it is like the pencil impression that they got, that somebody got like rubbing onto another surface. But the impression that they got is just a series of squiggly lines that you cannot really determine the value of, but it was put specifically in like an encyclopedia or something, very far off from anything personal. And that gives you the impression very vaguely, having dealt with people who hide things a lot, that was hidden for some reason.
Okay. Can I just grab the book? How big is it? Is it super unwieldy?
It weighs like 2 bricks. It's like an encyclopedia. You can kill a man with it if you wish. The whole book is not necessary, but the page is just that one piece of paper is like totally separate.
I'm like, is this a game of Myst? I open the book and I see what page it's on, and like I'm trying to. Okay, so then I'll take the piece of paper. After just kind of quickly trying to figure out what page it's on and if there's anything there that seems interesting, but just for my own edification.
It's on a page in the encyclopedia dedicated to a very small, like 8-line blob of text dedicated to the unknown gods, to the forgotten gods.
Okay, well, I'll park that in the back of my mind. And then what's the other thing that I find?
The other thing is that you like really hone in on a framed photograph that is broken by the door. of Runa Casper and an unidentified person.
That I will
Um,
take, and I will try to gingerly remove the photograph from the broken frame because I don't want to get glass in my coat.
Um,
Bless him.
But
Sorry.
just in case, because it's like I don't know what happened to Crossroads. I don't know what's going on. But if this is important, then either Crossroads will be happy to have it, or
when you take the photograph out of the frame, on the back of it is like this very strange, like it's very intense pen scribble. Like somebody didn't merely write this down because they wanted to keep note of it, but like almost as if they were journaling something out of frustration. This very jagged capital letters is written. I don't know why I kept this. And now you have this photograph.
okay. So I've got a paper, I've got a photograph, and then I go looking for Crossroads and or Ring.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
flashback
that
to where
happened then.
now
Now
I'm drinking
you are-
whiskey. This is great.
Yes. So a reminder that anything that Crossroads does not feel like sharing, you still technically have the capacity to add to the conversation because you would have
So-
overheard the inspector at the apartment.
Yeah. So I'm actually I value Crossroads privacy, believe it or not. And so I'm gonna just kind of real slow take the picture of the other thing out of my coat and offer them to Crossroads and be like, do you know these are important? And I'm kind of looking at Ring like I got these from your apartment.
Crossroads is still sitting like an extremely
I just hold them up.
consternated, extremely consternated Tutankhamun. Just, but when it sees the photograph, it super stiffly and kind of unnaturally stands up from the knees. You know how when most people stand up, they kind of like sit forward and they kind of use their entire legs to get up. Crossroads uses its knees to get up, just like, and then goes over like a consternated mummy and then takes the photograph and then moves back to the corner and sits back down.
Okay.
And then after a pretty uncomfortable silence goes, thank you.
You're welcome.
No.
So Ring finishes up the stew and kind of pours it into 3 bowls and kind of sets them aside and is like putting out utensils.
Skelly just kind of slowly grabs Crossroads' bowl and moves it closer to her.
So if it's blue coats, we can deal with blue coats. It's a big city. There's not that many of them. Most of them are not paid that well. Not too hard to slip a few coin here and there and get people to look somewhere else.
I shake my head.
But-
one of them was an inspector. She had fancy shoes. She's gonna be a problem.
Same one from the funeral.
Yep.
Ring will kind of sit back and kind of put their hands to their hair. If it's an inspector, that is more of a problem. Is this about Runa?
They're looking for something. They thought the Crossroads had it.
I don't have anything.
I start
What did-
eating.
Did that inspector come after you?
They totally tried to kill Crossroads with guns. It sucked.
One gun, says Crossroads. Wait,
What
did
did
the
they-
other guy have a gun?
Yeah, they both had guns. He was kind of fried though, I think.
The other guy
because-
did not. I don't recall the other guy drawing his weapon,
Because-
but he was armed.
Yeah, the other guy grabbed my shoulder and then
Yes, and then you cooked him at close range.
yeah, and then yeah, okay. So Crossroads says one gun
Mm-hmm.
very loudly.
What were they asking?
Crossroads says confusing questions.
You remember them?
No. Crossroads doesn't know. remember. Crossroads panicked a lot. Right now, the only thing Crossroads remembers distinctly is the souls of several hundred crickets crisping into the ether.
Wow. Okay.
So if
R.I.P. crickets.
well, maybe some food will help you remember. You know, you're safe here, as much safety as I can offer. That and my neighbors. As bluecoats don't come around here very much. It's not a great idea to antagonize several hundred well-fed dock workers.
So Crossroads tuned out after Ring said, "You'll feel better after eating." And Crossroads just goes, "Yes."
Crossroads doesn't like to eat in front of other people. I pull the bowl closer to.
I think after one bowl's worth, Ring would kind of try to pull Skelly aside and have a private conversation while Crossroads is sitting there or standing being awkward, because Ring doesn't get why they're being awkward. And say, like, what's up with your friend? Is this trauma or?
Nah, they're just weird.
I have a question. Are the two of them looking away from Crossroads right now?
Yeah, it'd be like, so if imagine their apartment isn't very big, so it'd be like the kitchen and the living room are the same thing, and they would have taken a step into the hallway, which probably only has 2 or 3 steps, whereas like small bathroom on one side and then bedroom. So they would be like, you'd still be able to see the pair of them, but they wouldn't be like, your friend is weird.
Okay, cool. Because if that's the case, Crossroads, as soon as they move to a distance and area where Crossroads could be at the dinner table and have its back to them, it would dash to the table, grab the nearest bowl, we'll say it's Rings, and then pour whatever was left down the beak, and then like put the bowl down and then run back and sit down.
I love the idea of that in the background while Ring and Skelly are turned away from it.
Yep.
Like, a part of me was actually going to ask you for a role for that, but I'm really just going to put that as in the scene of this moment. The camera is focusing on Ring and Skelly as Crossroads very loudly and clumsily makes their way to the other side of the table, steals Ring's bowl,
pours it and then
pours it down their beak, and then comes back to sit down while nobody else has noticed, because they really aren't trying to notice.
I would like to also state that whenever Crossroads does something superhuman, Yakety Sax is playing.
Of course it is. Perfectly human choice of music. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's good.
So yes, as that's happening, Ring and Skelly meet privately on the other side of the room.
Yeah, so yeah, no. They're just weird. That's how they are. I mean, they got shot though, so that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
You hear Crossroads yell, "I'm done."
And like look back, and then look to Skelly.
Oh, is there soup leaking out of the hole?
I'm
Oh,
going to
I'm
going to say there's this small, barely visible puddle of gravy that is leaking out of
No, you said it
Crossroads'
wasn't
right
stew.
leg.
That means there's chunky stuff in it. The chunky stuff would have plugged it up. It's a self-sealing system.
That's really not. I'm pretty sure that's not how stew works. But
Yeah, it
yes.
is. That's why they say stew in it.
Oh God.
I don't know.
Yes. So
Okay, so
Potato
there's-
plug. Got it.
I can't help them if they don't tell me what's going on. Can you?
Oh yeah, so the blue coats are looking for some kind of seal. They don't have any idea what it is though.
A seal?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's like an
Like-
animal.
Seal or like a seal?
Hey, wait a minute. That lady at the funeral was talking about selling a seal.
Who was?
Animal kind though. I'm not sure if that's the right one.
What you mean, Ash?
Yeah, that one.
If it's like a signet seal, they might know something. They're pretty well connected on that side of the city. Think
I
you
think it
could
was an animal, but I don't know. Maybe
think
we
you
should
could
ask.
convince your friend to take an unobtrusive stroll across a district or two to go pay a visit to Ash?
Just ask him. Hey, Crossroads, you want to go for a walk?
I'm good at walking.
Sweet, let's go.
Seriously, what is their deal? Like,
I don't know, but they cook for me.
Scar? Like, do you know what's up with the mask?
No.
Not my business. And then I think
Masks are cool.
Ringwood notice the empty bowl, be pleased, then notice it's their bowl, be a little confused, but they've put Crossroads in a box of like shell, like the same kind of whatever the Duskwall psychology terminology for like shell shock is, that they would have seen in the war, and so that covers up quite a number of behaviors. And would then basically do the host thing of like, okay, cool, we're finishing up, let's go.
Yeah, Skelly would definitely eat the rest of Crossroads food at this point.
Okay.
With a hand up to guard, like.
So that makes a very easy transition from that moment to showing up to the front of Ash's store, which for Ash's purposes, I will point out all of this would have happened the exact same afternoon, obviously, as your interaction.
Yes. And also,
So
like, I had to go wash those crickets out of the cup.
yeah. So between the end of
and the weirdness, we are outside business hours.
yes. So right now the shop is closed.
And
between
Ash lives
between
in a room
that
above it.
yes. Between that actual cricket incident and now, I'm going to say roughly 3 hours have passed.
It's night.
Yeah, it's night. It's like squarely quite late. And the three show up to the front of your store. Who knocks? Who tries to get Ash's attention?
Crossroads is definitely behind Ring and Skelly.
Ring would kind of knock at the door and try and see, like, knock at the storefront first, and would give that a minute or so, and then like look to see if there's a light on somewhere above. I don't know if Ring would know whether Ash lives in that building.
I would say that you have interacted well enough to know, because you would have seen the store at some point previously already.
So then Ring would kind of reach into a pouch and do the like pebble on the window thing.
So wait, what are you throwing if you didn't actually? What did you throw if you didn't actually just bend down and get something off the ground?
I think that Ring is enough of like a city gutter kid to have like burned seeds, and or it's like
chunks of street. Nah, you just pick up rocks. That's how you do.
Yeah, it's just like small random crap, something that's small enough to not like break the window, but large enough to make a sound.
Okay.
So like maybe they pull out one thing and say, "Oh no," okay, and then like try to ping it off of the glass to make some noise without drawing too much attention.
About 3 pebbles in, Ash opens the window because she had the gramophone on. So she doesn't hear them until like one finally hits in the lull between songs.
Uh-huh.
And then she's a little irritated because, oh my god, does business ever stop? Can she not have one quiet night to herself? So she opens the window and sticks her head out and looks down. And then she sees that it's Ring, who is really usually so reasonable about respecting people's time.
And Ring would kind of reach into their jacket and pull out like what remains of the bottle. And be like, "You got time for a drink?"
And Fish says, "Since it's you," and shuffles down to open up. And as she's ushering everyone in, she says, "Shh, quiet, let's go upstairs. My boarder's sleeping in the back room." So she actually does bring them all into her living quarters.
Mhm.
What does Ash's living space look like?
She does not put personality into her decorating. Like, it is mostly fairly minimalist. There's a couple items, mainly rugs and clocks and things, that are obviously just couldn't sell that, gave up, dragged it up here to fill a need. The clocks are not on remotely the same time. None of her china matches in the least. And most importantly, like, nearly everything that doesn't look obviously out of the shop is definitely just like nondescript Duskwall stuff. There's nothing remotely ethnic in here, etc., etc.
Okay, so that answers one question that I deliberately wanted to ask. The other question is anything in your living quarters obviously expensive and rare?
Not
Crossroads.
particularly, no. Like, some of the mismatched china looks like it was fairly nice at one point, but it's fairly obvious that it all came to her secondhand at best. But the other thing is, there's nothing obviously or apparently Severosy. No wraps, no pottery.
Okay. So the three
Crossroads
of
isn't very taken in by all the clocks because it understands those things. These are now all of its friends.
do you have any thoughts about the fact that the clocks are, except for at least one of them, not on actually any time zone at all, just ticking?
It stresses Crossroads out profoundly, and Crossroads hates it.
Duly noted.
Do you start fixing them, like just like?
Ash starts digging through the kitchen because if Ring is supplying the booze, she needs to supply some kind of snacks. She eventually comes up with some sort of like kakitane like thing, so like teeny tiny fried crackers or something, and pours a few bowls of those and puts them out. And she looks at Ring while she's plunking teacups on the table for the whiskey, and she goes, "Who's your friends?"
I'm going to say that Crossroads was going to change all the time to be correct, but then saw that food was being taken out and then got even more stressed and then just didn't move at all.
Okay.
So like
So
it turned and went
Crossroads
toward
is-
the dresser and it's just kind of leaning weirdly.
Yeah.
At a
Crossroads
clock.
has become a statue, facing
Yes.
the clocks, very
Yep.
awkwardly standing by the nearest wardrobe. What is
Notices
everybody else
this,
doing?
And she gestures towards the clock closest to Crossroads and is like, "That one's kind of loud when it rings. Might want to step back."
Crossroads immediately moves back to the opposite wall and sticks there.
Okay.
So this is Skelly.
Skelly's eating.
We go way back.
I've seen you. Oh, you were at the funeral.
Mm.
And this is Crossroads, a friend of Skelly's. We wanted to get your read on
And
something. I'm sorry
That
for the late
pings
consult.
in Ash's mind, like she recognizes the name Crossroads now, but she's going to wait that out for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And your point of clarification.
Mhm.
Was Crossroads, or was Crossroads still meat back when Crossroads bought the haunted doll?
Crossroads was Crossroads.
I think. Was that the case? I feel like we had agreed that you were meat, but I can't recall.
I feel like we
Okay.
actually didn't establish, but
Yeah, we didn't establish that I was meat
Right.
when I got the doll.
Okay, so we'll leave it up to you now.
Mhm.
This
But,
is your decision.
But I do, because I established that that was how I was connected with Ash, and I remember that connection, then it would be when after I was no longer meat, because I don't remember anything that happened prior to when I was meat.
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
Ash recognizes Crossroads both from that transaction because God, she was glad to get rid of that doll. And
It's back
also
in your
from the
house now on my
funeral.
body.
But she doesn't comment on it. She's just kind of linking these things in her mind. She does notice the doll is on Crossroads' body. And she goes, "Oh, hey, you're taking real good care of it, aren't you?"
Crossroads inhales really powerfully, but maybe 3 seconds too late for a person because it's surprised. And then it says, yes. That's it. That's all it says.
Yeah.
So do
Well,
you?
it's nice to finally get introduced properly.
Oh. And it looks very uncertain and then unsticks from the wall and kind of holds out its hand a little bit to say, Crossroads, but then doesn't actually stick out its hand far enough for you to take it. Just like, I'm doing this. No, I'm not.
Ash interprets it as like an aborted wave. But as a general rule, like, she has learned not to ask too many questions about customers because God, that would make them ask questions about her, and that'd be the worst. So she has lots of customers who, oh, I remember that transaction. I never asked your name and you never told me, and this was one of them. So mystery solved.
So did you hear anything at the funeral about a seal?
Wasn't that Inspector talking about that?
Mhm.
Did you hear anybody else talk about a seal?
I mean, before we go any further, I really think we need to clarify, like, Harp, Harbor, Leopard, Stampy.
Not sure, but probably seal, sigil, ward.
I see a fair few of those in my line of work, but honestly, most families have them at some point. A lot of people have them just for banking. I would need so many more details to be of any use to you whatsoever. Is it a ring? Is it, one of the proper stamp sorts that you have to carry in a pouch?
It was a blue coat inspector asking about it, so I would guess that it's either relevant to their investigation or it's the type that some rich people use to open ancestral chests or in rituals to the immortal emperor or something, that kind of stuff.
Haven't seen one of those in a while. I have to say that most of the ones that I wind up dealing with are rings. You know, so and so inherited it, maybe made some bad bets down at the racetrack, needs a little fast money. Pawns grandpapa's ring.
And I don't suppose any have come through your store like that in the last couple of weeks.
Rings, yes. Stamp type, no. Animal, no, that was like 2 months ago.
Skelly's disappointed.
Well,
Crossroads, meanwhile, unbeknownst to everybody else, is taking a trip through its mind palace and just kind of trying to think about all of these particular things that Ash is saying. And like, did I do a banking when I was meat? Probably not. Did I bet when I was meat? Probably not. Did I inherit anything when I was meat? Probably not. So it's just going through all of these individual scenarios going, did I do that when I was meat? Nah, probably not.
I mean, this does raise the question of whether Crossroads meat parents are still out there.
This is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. That's a sentence that has been uttered into the universe.
And Ash does keep sneaking looks at Crossroads whenever she can. Not because she suspects Crossroads is anything other than a 100% genuine meat person, but because she's like, okay, this is who that guy was talking about. What the hell does this extremely buff, socially awkward person have that guy wanted? Because she has not quite cottoned on to how many layers Crossroads has on. So she thinks right now that under that jacket, Crossroads is just alarmingly jacked. And
in the lumpiest of ways.
And that's strongly inclining her to, next time that guy comes back, she's just going to tell him to fuck right off out the door because she doesn't want to have to be in any position where she has to possibly risk physically fighting someone this buff.
Good. That's a good rule of thumb. So I'm considering whether this is a role of some sort.
Oh no. I'm like, am I gonna accidentally cook everybody in this room?
No, you're fine.
Uh-oh.
You're not making this sound better.
Right. I need Iori to give me a fortune roll.
Okay.
1 die.
Where is the option for the fortune roll?
There should just be a thing
it
marked
should be-
fortune.
Here we go. Found
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
1 die.
Yes.
No notes?
Nope. Okay.
Oh.
That fortune.
Ouch.
Right. All I'm going to tell you right now is that nothing has changed. Continue.
What?
No.
I'm feeling like Crossroads right now. It's like, I am uncomfortable.
At this
Crossroads'
point,
arm has fallen off and nobody has noticed, including
one
Crossroads.
of the multiple clocks has begun tolling really aggressively. That clock does believe it's 11 p.m. It is not 11 p.m. yet.
So yes.
I think Ring would kind of change tacks and shift into a little bit more informal chatter and kind of realize that they didn't know for sure how Ash knew Runa. And ask and say like, I'm sorry, I realized that I didn't know how you knew Runa, and I don't think we talked about it before.
She bought some things, she sold some things. Nothing that fits the description of what you were looking for, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, seems like she was really well connected, more than I expected and more than I had thought. And that would certainly explain why an inspector would take on her case personally.
She was certainly one of the friendlier customers I've had. You know, I get a lot of people through here who don't come back. Having her pop in a couple times a month certainly stuck out in my memory.
Question to the GM: was Runa
Mhm.
friendly to me?
Yes, Runa was literally your caretaker. As far as you remember, she was really, really nice to you.
Okay.
Yes. Um, a question that I do have for Ash though. When Runa sold things through your store, how many of those things did you appraise as being like obviously not something that a kind well-respected woman would just easily get rid of? How many of those things seemed like contraband or very dangerously traded antiques? How many of those things were probably like literally weapons? Um, all of which I'm imagining that she's come to your store very meekly with a smile and just like, how much does this cost?
She's come in with weapons before, and Ash sent her away because Ash knows what a bitch it is to resell those.
Mhm.
So most of what Runa brought to her was bits of jewelry, like a silver snuff box here, a tiny little carved jewelry box that's there, like enameled trinket boxes, the kind of thing you buy when, or the kind of thing you're selling when you're just kind of raiding the ancestral home for pocket change.
Mhm.
So Ash's read on Runa was, mm, I think they might have some kind of minor addiction, maybe gambling, maybe drinking, maybe they are supporting a lover in not precisely comfortable style, but this person is just quietly selling off the family treasures. And Ash resolved, you know, let's just not ask too much about it. At least these are little things that I can move easily.
Okay.
I want to say that as Ash is talking about how nice Runa was, Crossroads is just kind of remembering on their non-meat memories of Runa and just kind of almost imperceptibly nodding a little bit. Like, yes, I agree. Runa was super, super nice.
Ash notices that, but she thinks it's a nervous tick.
And
Like,
Ring kind of picks up again and in a low voice, like, we've got some trouble about this, and I don't know exactly where all it points. I want to try and help out. I don't want to necessarily get you roped into this, draw the kind of attention you don't want on you or your store.
and Ash just makes a face. This is Ring. She's dealt with them enough that she knows she can be open with them. And she goes, little late. Um, there were some people in here earlier who were asking me about your friend. And she's trying to keep her voice low because she doesn't want to make a socially anxious buff person panic further.
I was
But
about to
at
say,
the
like,
end there, her voice does go up, so it's very possible that Crossroads caught the tail end of that.
Okay, and Ring would say, "Oh, did you need my help in moving that chest uh, uh, from the store?"
Yeah, that would be super helpful. I need more storage up here. I can't shift the thing for love or money at this point, so I might as well just bring it upstairs for my own use.
Right, and you don't want to try to drag something upstairs while you've got a boarder.
Mm-hmm.
And Ring will then excuse the two of them to go and do that, and then like,
I'll guard
okay,
the food.
like, okay, let's have the talk that we don't want the like Crossroads to be overhearing.
Okay, so am I left alone with Skelly right now? Is my question.
Mhm.
Okay.
And also, that clock is still going. It turns out the one that's ringing was on military time, so it believes it's 23 o'clock.
Okay, nice.
I'm
I'm going to say that that's been ringing for like 2.5 minutes now.
Okay, I'm going to say then that as soon as they're gone, Crossroads like dashes to the ringing clock and immediately starts taking it apart.
Okay, well, all right.
Thanks. That sucked.
Should I roll finesse for that? As to
No,
whether
I'm just gonna say it's gone. It's gone. You just put one iron fist through the wall and it's just crumbled.
Okay, so Crossroads is just kind of standing there with its fist kind of in this clock now and looks over at Skelly and goes, ooh, ouch.
You need some ointment for that or something?
Crossroads looks down at the clock on its fist and sees like the mechanical grease starting to drip from the busted clock down onto the dresser and goes, no.
Is there anything nearby that resembles like a napkin?
That would be up to Ash, I guess.
Ash? Yeah, sorry.
She liked that sweater.
Yeah. Sorry, sweater. So I hand Crossroads a sweater that looks napkin-y. Like, here, you can clean it up.
Oh, thank you. They take their fist awkwardly out of the clock and punch the sweater a few times.
Okay. While that is happening, Ash and Ring, would you like to continue your conversation at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, who came to you about what?
Man in a hat. God, utterly nondescript. Tall. You know, that sort of face where not handsome but not repellent. Just not the kind of person you look at. And the more I think about it, the more I think that was intentional. Very beige. Beige in the clothing, beige in the face.
Like a Brightstone type? Uptown, downtown?
You know, I wouldn't be able to say. And she is thinking about this now. And she's realizing that this guy actually behaved a bit like she does. In that the bulk of his appearance had been curated in a way to make him nondescript and unmemorable, which is kind of just the hallmark of Ash. She had noticed, like, he has a pocket watch, and that looked like it was gold, but certainly plenty of people, even in the merchant class, have things like that, heirlooms and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
The clothes were of decent quality, in decent repair. No obvious rips, tears, bit of mud on the shoes, but that was really normal for this time of year. They were decent shoes. Ash doesn't know quite enough about shoes, which are not something people generally sell secondhand. In Duskfall, I think it's a little more common for people to get custom job shoes, not off the rack. So She doesn't tend to pay attention to shoes. She hates wearing them personally. I mean, she'll do it, but she doesn't like it. But as she goes on describing this man, she's just like, he was trying to be actively boring.
And he was asking about Crossroads and what else?
He wanted to hire me to get something from Crossroads. I don't know what, and because he wouldn't be specific about what, I didn't make any commitment to him. You know, I don't like to get involved in things that I don't know the details of. I like to be aware of precisely what level of risk I'm exposing myself to. He was less than forthcoming about it. He did suggest that in the process, Crossroads might be hurt, which was another hesitation for me. You know, I don't like that sort of thing.
Did he say he'd come back after you've deliberated or something?
Yes, he did.
Did he give a time frame?
Did he?
He did not give a time frame.
No, I don't think
He was a dick.
he did.
In fact, I will clarify that the tone of that conversation implied that he would more likely prefer you checked with him than the other way around. But
Right.
but you also do sense that he will come back, just have no idea when.
Didn't he leave a card?
He did leave a card. Would you like to look at the card right now?
I will fish through the desk for it and hand that over to Ring and be like, he said he was coming back, but he also said that I could call him.
And did you need this chest moved, actually?
Yes.
All right.
So,
and then I think
We are
Ring
lugging
would-
this stupid thing upstairs. But first, Ash is going to be sensible enough to pull all the drawers out. So first they're carrying the carcass of the chest up, and then they'll go back and grab the drawers.
right, so
Before
that-
those things happen, I want to clarify a thing about the card. The card now only has an address.
Hmm,
It used to have his name. It does not anymore. Ring would obviously not know that, but Ash, you noticed that it had more information on it, more of the already sparse information on it, and now it has less.
is the
Ash remarks on that. She's seen things with invisible ink before, and she goes, part of this has disappeared. Let's see. When we get upstairs, how about we copy this down so that we still have it, and then we'll see what we can expose this to try and bring it back.
rich people and their conspiracy bullshit?
I would like to add that after Crossroads punches the sweater several times, it would look around for a bathroom. If there's a bathroom,
There
Is
is
there
a
a
bathroom.
bathroom?
It is tiny and cramped, and good luck getting Crossroads' frame through that door.
Crossroads is only inside clothes about 6 feet tall, so that's okay. Crossroads,
The sweaters
Said-
add shoulder bulk, right?
yeah.
That's going to be the problem.
Crossroads says to Skelly, I want privacy, and like squashes itself into the bathroom and shuts the door, and
Okay.
then takes its soup container and empties it into the toilet and rinses it out a little bit, and then screws it back in, and then squashes itself back out of the bathroom and is like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Ellie did not pay any attention to any of that part of the. She was definitely just eating.
When Ash returns, she notices the carnage of the clock, and it was definitely done by hand bigger than Skelly's, and she just resolves, I am not going to cross the buff stranger. I am not going to tangle with that buff stranger.
Crossroads sees Ash look at the clock and says, I'm sorry. I'll fix it.
No, don't fix it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
I won't fix it. Sorry.
It wasn't expensive, don't worry.
Oh. Okay. And then Crossroads creaks over at Skelly as if to try and figure out what that meant.
Don't worry about it. It sucked.
Oh.
You got some little nuts.
Oh.
That's cool.
Crossroads. Crossroads appears confused.
So Brendan, is the dress on the card one that Ring would recognize?
You can tell very immediately it's an address in Dunslow, which is quite a ways away from where you presently are.
Oh, that's down by Ironhook.
It is.
Okay.
You've never been to this place in particular, but you know the general lay of the land over there. And it, you get the impression, since it's closer to the southwest of the area, that it's typically not. I mean, it's located in a portion of the how do I put this? It's the population of the general area where it's located is not very well to do. There is a lot of violence that takes place in that area that you're more or less perfectly aware of, but you've also once or twice, very, very early in your retirement, done some one-off philanthropy in that area with some bits and ends of your money and some other money that was put together by some of your colleagues in the war for some people who lived in that area. I will also note, now that I've genuinely been aware of that, I want Ash to give me another fortune roll. Still one die.
Oh no, if you a good roll, the nasty man's gonna manifest in your house.
Oh god.
That's scary.
Uh,
Oh no.
I'm bringing the bad rolls today.
nothing changes. Continue.
After Ring has copied down that address, Ash is going to take the card and try and hold it near a heat source and stuff, see if she can reactivate the invisible ink in any way.
Give me another fortune roll. I'll give you 2 dice.
Oh, the man's gonna manifest from the card.
What? So many things I want specifically to happen to Ash in this moment.
Hey, there's a six.
Success. This is where
agree.
right. So the card has been doing very, very peculiar things. What you notice is that it's not being written with some run-of-the-mill invisible ink of like the regular disappearing variety, but with some other quality of ink that you've never previously encountered, that you are only getting to react very vaguely to heat. During this process, you notice a name what is the name I'm going to give this person? Names, folks. Um, I had I had previously totally forgotten to give this person a name.
Gregory.
Go pick someone who retweeted the announcement.
That would be nice, but right. So you notice a name on the card. The card has the name Aldo Booker.
I show that to Ring, and I'm like, this doesn't sound like anyone I know. Have you heard the name?
I would assume that I've not. And I think what Ring instead talks about is someone like that, the way you described, seems a lot less likely that they'd have a storefront or someplace to be called upon in Dunslow,
You
unless they're in the prison business, or they have the storefront there because it's not somewhere you'd expect.
When Ring says prison, Crossroads suddenly seems to be magnetized to the wall again. An alarm. Clunk.
you also notice another thing. In the place where there is the line of text for the Dunslow address, there is now another line for another address that is in Western Brightstone. You,
fancy with his 2 houses.
you will notice that this is you will only now realize that this is the address that was on the card when you got it the first time.
She will point that out because she has no reason not to be forthcoming with Ring.
Mm-hmm.
The only person she's really tiptoeing around here right now is Crossroads because she doesn't want that clock to be her face.
Yeah.
So why would Booker have a card that does all this trickery and has 2 addresses?
There was only one address on it when I first got it, and it's not the first one you wrote down. So I'm wondering if there was a little bit of an expiration date on this offer that he didn't tell me about. Go to the first address. Yes, I've been good and timely, and they will work with you. Second address. I imagine maybe I wouldn't come back from that one.
Yeah, not a lot of people go to Dunslow unless they really have to.
Dunslow sucks. I hate it over there.
So
Crossroads thinks about something to contribute to this conversation, but it doesn't know anything about Dunslow. So it says nothing and continues being stuck to the wall.
Ashton has noticed now that Skelly has finished that entire bowl of those little rice crackers. So now
possibly 1.5 at this point, yeah.
Hunting for more snacks to throw on the table. Comes up with a
You might be aware that Skelly is just a black hole for
crispy
food.
chicken in skin. She dishes that out next. There's fried watermelon seeds, that sort of thing.
Skelly tucks in.
So I can take a walk. We can take a walk by the address nearby here. Getting to Dunslow, probably have to wait till tomorrow unless we want to make an all-nighter. Not particularly inclined. I don't know what timeline the inspectors or Booker are working on.
I'm not sure it's a great idea for us to go to Brightstone tonight, especially if we go as a group. Looks a little suspicious, doesn't it? 4 people from out of the neighborhood wandering around after dark.
Yeah, not as a group.
I will also remind you all that it's around like minutes to 11 p.m. at this point. So it's been quite late.
So the bluecoats will keep working, but if they don't know where to find Crossroads, and we can keep Crossroads away from them, maybe we have time to follow another lead.
Says Crossroads.
Ash feels like there's a request under there, and she's now trying to work out how to store Crossroads. Just because she still has that border downstairs she needs to think about, and they have a very normal job at a food cart. They're saving up enough to get out on their own, but she is not sure that she can necessarily keep Crossroads and the border away from each other. And like, when a weirdo moves in with you, you tell your coworkers and your friends. So she's just like assessing her space situation right now, trying to figure out where she would fit Crossroads in that case.
Yeah, so Ring will ask Crossroads, do you have somewhere else you could stay, somewhere the bluecoats wouldn't find you? Wouldn't know to find you?
Crossroads remembers Runa cheerfully saying jokingly, although it doesn't pick up on that if worse comes to worse, it can hide in the garbage. So Crossroads says, the garbage.
Okay.
What, down by the dump?
I don't know.
You know what? Crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a fortune roll. 2 dice.
Jesus.
Fortune rolls are saving all of like a very beautiful thing. It may just happen just now.
No notes.
No notes. Success. As you are like noting that like brief joke that Runa gave you all that time ago, you suddenly get like a flash of that complete moment where it seems to you very obviously that wasn't a joke, and that Runa may have been like actually hinting at something for you, like genuinely suggesting that somewhere near the garbage collection facility at the docks, there is a place where you can genuinely be safe that she has put out specifically for you, but you've never seen it. You know nothing else about it. But now in this moment, you feel like maybe she was genuinely telling you, if at any point in time you were ever in trouble, there is a place for you at this garbage dump.
So Crossroads freezes and goes, but special garbage for me where you live. Ring.
Ash is just so alarmed by all of this.
This is going so well.
Friend somewhere who you could stay with somewhere by the docks?
The garbage friends.
Okay, so if you've got someplace to stay, then the next thing to do would be case one or both of these addresses. Ash, I don't know what you want to do in terms of whether Booker is going to come back. If you think you have a sense of when, I can maybe try to move shifts around and be in the neighborhood if you want some kind of backup.
I'd appreciate that, but I really don't know when he's coming back.
Skelly?
And then,
Sorry, go ahead.
and then Ash is looking at Crossroads, and she says, I think we have some things downstairs that might fit you. You should have a change of clothes if you're going to keep wandering around.
This time, Crossroads takes 2 seconds to inhale in alarm and surprise.
Mm.
And then it remembers that offers should be thanked, so it says super awkwardly, "Thank you."
No worries.
Skelly, what do you think about all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think Skelly keeps odd hours anyway, and so it's possible that Skelly would be okay with casing one of these places right now. But would she be less inclined to say go to Dunslow in at night because safety?
I will say, because I feel like this is information that Skelly and Dring would be
Yeah.
very easily privy to, that movement between districts is the easiest way to get pinned down by bluecoats, especially at this hour of the night.
Okay, so then
So
it
it
would
would
be a
not
good
be
idea to go to-
recommended unless you plan to sneak the entire way through, which is a
Yeah.
lot of effort.
And how
in
far
that case-
is the garbage from this place?
What's that?
How far are the dumps from here?
I'm going to say not that far.
Yeah, because
Same district?
if we're in Brightstone, the docks are right now. The docks and Brightstone are adjacent.
Yeah,
Okay.
the docks are further west.
I would definitely then volunteer to walk Crossroads home, which or not home rather, but to this mysterious garbage place by the docks. That's where.
For the first time since you've ever seen Crossroads, both Skelly and everybody else, Crossroads actually seems to relax.
Okay.
So
Before they
its
go,
shoulders
Ash
drop
is-
by like 3 inches.
Yeah, Ring is that where Ring lives though? Over by the
Yeah.
docks, or yeah. So I mean, Ring has to go back that way anyway. So I would be like, yeah, we can, maybe walk together or something. I don't know. If it's less suspicious, then we would go separately. But
Before they go, Ash is going to offer like a change of coat to each of them just because Inspector's out looking for you, huh? Maybe let's
Yeah,
get
and-
hey,
the glow
thanks.
up.
New coat.
Ring will.
Do you have a hooded coat with a hood long enough to cover a beak?
Crossroads instead gets this like massive military greatcoat. Like there's a few extra inches of shoulder space there. It goes down past Crossroads' knees.
Crossroads accepts this coat extremely seriously and then just puts it on over everything they're already wearing.
Yeah,
It
and
Works.
Ring will kind of tie their hair back, do a quick braid, pull it up, and kind of back around. And like within a minute, their hair looks totally different.
Nice.
Crossroads is staring with a capital S at this.
Skelly just pulls their hood up. She's like, I have a hood now. She was wearing a hooded coat.
So why don't we meet tomorrow at that cafe just this side of Brightstone? Yex?
Oh, the good coffee or the bad coffee?
You ever seen an inspector there or at the at Yex with the good coffee?
Yeah, no.
Then we might as well start our day with off with something worth drinking.
Crossroads starts sweating. Metaphorically.
Condensing.
Okay. So from this point, I take it everybody is headed off for the evening. Ash, I take it you're just going to stay. You're finally going to attempt to get some sleep at this point.
Yes.
Okay. Um, as everyone else is headed towards the docks, then. Um. Hmm. So you get to the docks. I'm assuming that Ring lives quite a ways away from the actual garbage dump in that area, but it is like one of the first things that you meet um near like the northern corner of the docks. Um and as you like enter the area, um Crossroads, I think, should give me a roll
Uh-oh.
because
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
right. So what I will say is your sensorium is alert about something.
Uh-oh.
And if there's if you would like to give me a roll as to why that takes place, that's up to you. Or if you
Okay.
don't want to gather that information at all.
I would like to try and pick up on what my sensorium is picking up on. So I guess that would be study or survey.
I'm going to say that it would be survey.
Okay.
I'm going to say that your position is controlled
Okay.
and your effect is standard.
Mm-hmm. Crossroads is just curious right now. It's not panicking because it has friends ? With
Mhm.
it, so it's not going to push itself or anything.
Mhm.
So no bonus dice.
Nope.
And
Oh wow. 1. That's not good.
that's terrible.
One yike.
One whole yike.
Right. You do not notice what it is your sensorium is has noticed. Like it's pinging something, but for whatever reason you are incapable of actually discovering what direction it's looking at.
Okay. In that case, Crossroads is definitely nervous again.
Okay. While that's happening,
Does Skelly notice this and be like, uh-oh, why is Crossroads nervous, and starts looking around?
You definitely notice its shoulders going back.
you very observably notice that Crossroads is nervous about something.
Can I do a survey for that one?
You can. Because
Okay.
I feel like you're also the kind of person who would respond to other people's nervousness by probably being hyper alert. I will say that your position is controlled and your effect is limited. Would you like to push yourself for getting a devil's or take a devil's bargain?
Trying to think. I feel like everything is weird right now, so I might want to push myself a little. I have plenty of stress available to me at the present time.
Okay.
Right.
So if you push yourself, you gain 1 more die.
All right, here we go. Let me mark my stress here. Oops. Yeah. Okay, so controlled, limited, 1 bonus die. And
Ooh, a 6.
nice.
Because those other 2 dice are kind of dicey.
Why do we keep rolling ones today, guys? It's not good.
It's revenge for all the crickets.
Oh no! For every cricket we roll
each
a
one
1.
is an individual dead cricket.
Yep.
No.
So you notice nothing in the area that should make someone feel nervous. But you do notice that there is a singular Death Seeker crow, straight up, like maybe 10 feet directly above Crossroads' head. And when it sees you looking at it, it swoops down further ahead and rests at a statue, like just at the outskirts of the walls of the actual dump. Just this uh, perfect marble and pewter statue that's facing something like due west or thereabouts, based on your based on looking at it from where you are.
Does Crossroads notice the bird?
I think no. I think that's
Nope.
your. I think that's your failed roll. So that at this point, Skelly would be like, "Hey,
Crossroads
is that your bird?"
Yes.
Crossroads looks and sees the Death Seeker crow, and because its function was to take care of said crows and look after said crows, it just immediately beelines for the bird.
Okay, so
Mhm.
you run over to this statue. Skelly, I presume that you follow.
Yeah.
Yep, you see Crossroads pull an assortment of weird ground things and wave it around above its head to try and entice the bird to come down and eat.
Skelly is irrationally jealous.
So what's interesting about this statue is, so you come to this statue, and because it's 5 feet of pillar, it starts as 3 feet of ionic pillar, and then turns into this. On top of that is 2 feet of pure concrete rectangle, and on top of that is this impressionist kind of weird kind of shape, but when you were walking up to it, you got the vague impression that it was a bird of some kind, a swan or a very large duck, something that is presently on water or something, something in that swan crane family. But when looking upon it closer, it just looked like piles of concrete just kind of turning into each other.
Mm-hmm.
And there is what looks like a button in the very center of the concrete rectangular block, just in the middle of the ionic pillar and the statue itself.
That's weird.
Is the Death Seeker girl coming down to eat a food?
The Death Seeker crow is looking at you very quizzically.
Crossroads looks back very quizzically and waves the food around some more because it has a job and it needs to do its job.
The crow does not move, does not budge, still looking at you very confusedly.
Crossroads now appears dejected.
Is this where you're supposed to go?
Crossroads looks at Skelly and then looks at the crow and says, I'm supposed to take care of them. So I guess, yes.
Is that like a doorbell? I'm looking at the button. Does Crossroads remember anything?
Crossroads looks at the button. Does it look like a doorbell?
I mean, it does look like a doorbell button, yes.
In the way that doorbells are buttons.
Yes.
Well,
it's just a small round button that would look like concrete if it weren't obviously not concrete, but it is gray, just protruding from the rectangle.
Crossroads looks at it and can't seem to remember what it is, but then looks at Skelly and says, "Do you feel safe?" While it's holding like a handful of ground things.
I don't push weird buttons. You don't know what's gonna happen.
Crossroads remembers Runa pushing weird levers inside its body and feels very offended and pushes the button.
Okay, you push the button, and
While looking directly at Skelly.
and
Skelly's like,
at the bottom of the rectangular portion of the pillar, these two like concrete arms just kind of lift out of the rectangular pillar and then come down and connect at the front to reveal what looks like the two skeletal arms holding a concrete plate.
see, I told you, weird button.
It's a plate, you said.
Mhm.
Plates hold food. Crossroads goes over and puts the ground things on the plate.
Okay, you put the food out on the plate, and
And then it looks expectantly at the crow.
the crow literally nods at you, comes down to the plate, and eats. It's not so much pecking, which you are accustomed to seeing, as like literally taking like whole wide-beaked gulps of food, which you've also seen but is less likely. And it like literally clears the plate in like 3 or 4 gulps, and then nods at you, and then flies away. The very moment that it gets off the plate, you hear a rumbling sound from beneath you.
I step backward.
Crossroads looks at its feet.
Okay.
In confusion.
I want you to give me a fortune roll. A lot of fortune rolls this season, I'm sorry. I like using dice to solve these problems for me.
How many dice?
2 dice. I'll give you 2 dice.
Okay, no notes.
No notes. Ooh, a 4 is a minor success. Good. The rumbling suddenly stops. And then a 8-foot by 8-foot hole opens right in front of the pillar, right beneath Crossroads. It is just short enough of Skelly's feet for Skelly to also go down. No. So you just watch Crossroads dip into the earth. Crossroads, you like slide down this very long, dark, obviously metallic slide that you can tell is like inclined in the direction of the pillar just a ways. So you're just like sliding down this slope.
Can I say that because I just suddenly dropped down this thing that I attuned in a panic?
Oh God, you can do that. Please roll to attune. In fact, yes, please roll to attune, please.
Okay, position.
Your position is risky, and your effect is great.
No bonus dice because it's just a reaction.
Yep. A 6.
Hey.
You produce a straight, pure bolt of ghost energy that hits Skelly in the right foot, and Skelly is now tumbling down with you.
Sorry, Skelly.
Yeah!
Both of y'all are shuffling down this tunnel for like what seems like an eternity, but is really just like 2.5 minutes of pure tunnel.
About 1 minute, Crossroads says, "I'm distressed," in a strangely not breathless voice.
Mm-hmm.
By the
Skelly,
point of
how
about
do
a
you-
minute, Skelly's just like, why is this still happening?
Yeah, I figured.
This tunnel is too long.
Right. And you come to a stop by colliding with something strangely soft. All around you is incredibly dark.
Skelly immediately pulls out a lighter.
Okay. You strike the lighter, and in front of you is an expanse of room. You see desks, you see tables, you see what look like blackboards with like writing on it. You see stacks and stacks of paper. The roof of this place looks incredibly massive. The light of this one lighter is not enough for you to make out anything further than that, but you do see that there is um, a torch to your left side protruding from the wall just beyond the door that you just stumbled through.
I light the torch.
You light that torch, and 6 or 7 or 8 other torches in the room light by ghost energy the minute that it's lit. So you can now see this entire room. It's like the Batcave if the Batcave went straight up instead of expanding outward. You see dozens of blackboards with like lines and lines of twine connecting strange pieces of paper from one side to the next. You see stacks and stacks of loose pieces of paper and journals on tables all over the place. There is this one folded letter in an envelope that looks less like black cardboard and more like velvet that is lying on a table right by the door. Crossroads, you notice all of these things obviously as well.
Does the aesthetic of the room immediately make me think of Runa?
Nope.
Oh.
What
Cross.
is this?
I don't know.
You said we had to come to the docks because this is where your garbage place was. What is this?
A place under the garbage place. Crossroads kind of moseys around, kind of confused, and stops by the black velvet envelope you said. And kind of nervously, because Runa did build it to be curious and then to follow on its curiosity. So it reaches out and picks up this letter looking thing.
So do you open the envelope?
Yep. Does it look like something that can be opened?
Yes. It's
Okay,
very
then,
easily opened.
Then Crossroads opens the thing.
Maybe you shouldn't. Too late.
You take out the letter, and it is obviously in Runa's handwriting. Are you going to read it immediately?
Yes.
It's very
but not
brief.
out loud.
It's very brief. It says something to the effect of "Dare," and there was a very long name here that has been since scratched out entirely to the point where it's not so much covered in ink as they kind of made small holes through the paper trying to scratch this name out very eagerly. And the rest of the letter reads, none of this should have ever been my business, but since it is my business now, it might as well be someone else's. I don't think I can do this anymore on my own. I need someone else to continue this work when the cultists finally come for me. And it should only be you. I think after everything that we've been through, you kind of deserve this at this point.
That doesn't seem fair. That's like a curse right there.
I'm sorry that it had to be me to give this to you, but I couldn't trust it with anybody else. When this work is done, you can do whatever else you want with this room. But until it's done, please make sure that they do not win. I'm sorry, Runa.
Crossroads looks at this letter and reads it again and again and again, and then Skelly's kind of watching all of this happen, but
Yeah, Skelly's also like looking around the room like, what is all this?
But
Skelly, I want you to notice in particular, because this is a thing that only you would have been absolutely cognizant of. This is literally, I think, the very last thing that we're going to close on, which is there is a blackboard all the way to the end of the room that has this large, like 100 by 100 grid that somebody drew by hand onto the blackboard. And on it are these lines and these horizontal lines, vertical lines. Some of them are diagonal, some of them curve or make little swirls in between those lines. And all of those lines look immediately familiar to you. They look like the lines on the piece of paper that you pulled out of Runa's encyclopedia in the apartment.
Take out the paper and compare.
Yeah, and you take it out, and it looks exactly like it. And somewhere on the edge of that blackboard is the text, "What is the lady trying to say?" written in all caps in another color of chalk.
Red string meme.
Yeah. And that's like the last thing we see is just you comparing those two things.
Dun, dun, dun.
When I would like to say that when Skelly looks over, she sees that Crossroads has kind of sunk to its knees over this letter and is making very strange noises that she eventually parses as sobbing.
Okay. I'm going to say in that moment, like, this is the most purely, genuinely human response that you've had. But you are reacting to it as if it is the most unfathomable response that you've had. You're trying to hide it, but it sounds purely human in a way that is absolutely unhideable.
Crossroads feels really needy and hates it.
Don't we all? So yeah, that was a thing. I'm sorry to force all of those 14 dice upon you all. But thank you so very much for playing with me one more time in the second part of the Case of the Cindered Seal. I'm really jazzed to see where we go from this point.
That was such a cliffhanger.
Yeah, a lot of that.
I was so scared I was going to like air fry Skelly by mistake.
I mean, you kind of did. I had definitely stepped away and I was going to be okay until you sent up like a hand, like.
A great deal of those things were just not supposed to. Like, I was just like, well, we're here. These are the decisions that we've made. Let's just do the thing then. So yes, thank you so very much for hanging out with me and playing another session of Blades in the Dark. thank you to everyone's in chat who has been watching this very wild game. And I hope to see you all soon when we stream again. I have been your GM, Brandon O'Brien. My pronouns are he, him, or they, them. You can find me in all kinds of places at The Rising Tides on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, etc. And my friends, would you like to introduce yourselves as well?
Who's going first?
Why don't you go
I'll say
first?
Mike goes first. Let's
Okay.
go in the same order that we are accustomed to.
Okay, I'm Michael R. Underwood. I have a found family space opera novel called Annihilation Aria, which is coming this July 21st and should be available for pre-order. It's not especially like Blades, but maybe the found family element will end up being the continuity point there. I co-host Speculate with Greg, who is our host here at twitch.tv/ArvinElleron. And you can find me at michaelrunderwood.com or on Twitter at MikeRUnderwood.
Jeoi?
Yep, so I'm Jeoi, pronouns they, them, or he, him. I can be found on Twitter at This Is My Design, DASEIN. And yeah, your local meat ghost person.
Okay. Iori?
I'm Iori Kusano, she, her. I have fiction in Apex, nonfiction at Uncanny and Strange Horizons. You can find me on Twitter at Iori Kusano, or you can find me at kusanoiori.com.
And Valerie?
I am Valerie Valdes. I'm the author of Chilling Effect and the forthcoming Prime Deceptions. That'll be out in September. Both space opera, also found family. Also not quite a lot like this. If you like video games, that's more the speed that is. This is Wash, who refuses to leave me alone. You may have seen his tail a few times over the course of the podcast. And you can find me on Twitter at Valerie Valdes. And yeah, I mostly tweet about weird stuff my children say.
Okay. Thank you all for playing with me. Thank you all for watching us play. And until then, I think we should hand it back to Gregory.
I know Greg was in and out, so it may take a moment for him to get back in.
I am ready when you are, Mike.
Hey!
Hey!
Awesome.
Hey.
Great. Yeah, over to you to wrap.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, I'm doing a just a metric ton of work that just involved putting my son to bed also. But anyway, it was fun sort of checking in and out. At one point, my son was watching and really interested in hearing everything, and was every so often would catch a word that he was like, animals? So animals? He's not quite 4. And I was like, yeah, they're talking about animals. And he said something about is there a crossroads animal? I'm like, Crossroads is not an animal exactly, and so then it got really complicated from there. Anyway, this was great, and I hope that folks enjoyed this very much. I don't know how many sessions Brandon has this queued up for, but we are enjoying it on this channel, so hopefully it sounds like the players are having a good time, so hopefully we'll do this for a while. We'll see. But in any case, it was a great pleasure to have players and GM with us today. So chat, can we get some love for all of them, and players and GM? Thank you very much. We will see you very soon. And to my partner in crime, Mike, thank you very much, sir. And you will hear more from us. I'll close up shop with Speculate in a minute, but you'll hear more from Mike and myself very soon. Mike, did you already talk about yourself before I got back? I mean, I was here the whole time, of course.
I did, yeah. We did. I did all of the outros.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so then I will say goodbye to Mike and to the players and to the GM. Thank you, everybody. Brandon, thanks for another good game, and I will see these lovely folks very, very soon. Bye for now. Okay. There we go, folks. So that is going to wrap it up for us as I see if I can actually get this all coordinated since, of course, I was completely ready and prepared in every respect. There we go. But I hope everyone enjoyed this and had as good a time with this as I have had listening. I was indeed in and out for part of this today and was not able to be here as much as normal, but I did catch some of it, and I will catch more of it, of course, going on. And I just, put Mini Arv to bed, so that should be good. So I want to, first of all, thank the audio listeners for sticking with us. By the time you hear this, this will be, I believe, if I'm counting it properly, around episode number 5 or 6-ish, which would be 230 something or other of Speculate by the time you hear this. So if you enjoy this, please follow us on Speculate. Check out our website, speculatesf.com. Please make sure that you follow us over on our Twitter. And please also support us on our Patreon, because we also have a separate Speculate Patreon and would love to be able to get more of this. We do pay for audio editing and stuff like that, so any support that people can give is appreciated. I know these are difficult times, but obviously, but any help that people can give would be much appreciated. So thank you so much to the Speculate folks, and I'm going to close up shop with them now to my audio listeners. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to say goodbye to chat. This was a good time, and from what I caught of it, it seemed like it was a lot of fun, and everyone was having a great time with it, and that's cool. And I am looking forward to seeing video for the parts that I missed. But otherwise, I'm going to catch you wonderful folks back here Monday night, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, when Saad will make his triumphant return for what I believe is day 3 of Sword Coast Legends with Gromnir Grumblehammer. So Gromnir Grumblehammer and Saad will be back for Sword Coast Legends. That's been a lot of fun to watch those. And then I do want to remind everybody that on Tuesday, thank you, King Arthur of Gods. Oh, and I also saw while I was gone that a Rudinel actually resubbed at tier 2. So thank you, Rudinel. It's good to see you, man. Thank you so much for the resub, and thank you to those who followed and subbed tonight that I may not have seen. I also want to mention that Tuesday, coming up this Tuesday, we have at 10 a.m. the premiere of another joint Speculate Twitch channel event, and this is going to be a mini-series of Star Wars Scum and Villainy. It will be GM'd by the able Mike Underwood, and it will star myself as one of the players, so you will get a chance to see me play a little bit, along with 3 other intrepid adventurers, some of whom will be familiar to you, some of whom might not as much be. So they're going to be here, and I'm going to be here. In fact, I think I should be able to mention all of these. Dongwon Song is going to be there. He has been on one of our Speculate shows before. Marie Bilodeau, who is familiar to people in her time as Emberwind, extraordinaire player, and also Joyce Chung, who you should know if you've watched any Hearts of Wulin on this channel in the past. Those are the 3 intrepid players along with myself, plus Mike Underwood GMing, and that's what we've got. It's going to be very cool. I am doing a Mandalorian-ish character, so that's going to be good times. So that's what we've got happening. It's going to be fun. That'll be 10 a.m. Tuesday morning and Eastern. And then at 4 p.m., I'll be back over on Pen and Pixels, on GOG.com for Pen and Pixels. One last reminder, by the way, I've started to talk about this and I'll talk more about it. And that is that starting on the 22nd, we have ArvCon making its triumphant return, ArvCon 2020, this year to benefit the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. And I believe we now actually have... let's see if we did this right. Yes. So this is the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. There's a link there. We also have that, which is the 5th annual ArvCon to support the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. This is in memory of Scott Grieg, aka Kilobyte, who passed away, as we all know, from complications due to diabetes. And this will be taking place from May 22nd to 25th. It's going to be a big weekend, folks. We've got Esper Genesis on that Friday, the 22nd. We have got Adventures in Middle-earth and D&D with GOG Storm King's Thunder. And we have got a concert that evening on Saturday night. Then Sunday, we have also got on Sunday, the anchor leg is going to be an 8-hour marathon of D&D with I&B Curse of Strahd. That is going to be that Sunday, the 24th. And then for the first time ever, ArvCon will be moving on to overtime in Monday, when we will have 2 different events on Monday as our overtime period for ArvCon 2020. The first of them will be a special session of City of Mist, which is going to be run by Video Store Cowboy. We will announce the players when we get them. And then that evening will be our usual session of Emberwind starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Emberwind will close out what should be a very eventful and I hope raise a lot of money for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation for ArvCon 2020. And I'm also going to point out, yes, I should be able to confirm that soon. I have a couple of people that have confirmed already for the concert, but I have a couple more to track down. I've also heard positively from just about all of the companies, and I mentioned some of them already. Let me just confirm one thing. Yes, and I did get one. Boy, this guy has been really great. I just literally got an email within the last half hour from Neil Renison from Tin Man Games, who is again coming through to support us. They have actually supported us from the very beginning, and so I'm really, really grateful for that. So confirmed so far as corporate sponsors, we have Harebrained Schemes, who have jumped back into the mix. We have Tin Man Games, who have jumped back into the mix. We have Athos Arts, who has jumped back into the mix. I'm also happy to mention that we have a new corporate sponsor this year, Zen Studios, which of course did Operencia. They are also going to be jumping on board with something. We have not yet confirmed what codes, but they're going to be giving us some support, which is really great to hear. And also GOG.com is going to be sponsoring us once again. So we have a lot of sponsors jumping back on board. I have some few yet to hear from, but they've all responded really quickly, and I'm always super, super pleased for the generosity and grateful to this generosity of those companies. And of course, we have Rock God, who will be providing a giveaway gift, Kerflop, who will be providing a couple of giveaway gifts, plus all the game codes and stuff like that. So we got a lot going on. It's very exciting. And yeah, I can't wait for more details about it. But that's going to be coming up on that weekend. But that's going to do it for me. I will see you lovely people Monday evening for some Sword Coast Legends with Gromnir, Grumblehammer, and Sod. Tonight, I want to thank the amazing Blades in the Dark players for another fun session that ended on another, somebody said blade hanger, not cliffhanger, blade hanger. But I want to thank them. I want to thank Brendan O'Brien for GMing, and of course, my partner in crime, Mike Underwood, for being the co-host of the Speculate podcast, which is now in its 10th year, I believe, of production, if I'm not mistaken, and is still going strong. So thanks to Mike and thanks to everyone who supports us over there and all of you who support us here. If you haven't done so already, please follow the channel. Check out the YouTube with !ArvTube, Discord with !ArvCord, Twitter with !ArvTweets. No, I didn't get a haircut. I wish, Lone Wolf. No haircut for me. In fact, I didn't get a haircut, nor have I trimmed my beard. I got to do all that tomorrow, at least the beard part. Who knows when I'm going to be able to get a haircut? I mean, these days, at some point I'll be able to, or I'm just going to have to take a hedge trimmer and just what I can do. We'll see. But anyway, so definitely those things, arvaneleron.com. Financially, you can check out the shop, !Arv shop. Patreon is !ArvTreon. Yeah, the bowl cut. I had that when I was a kid, man. I see some pictures of me and I'm like, how did anyone ever look vaguely cool in the 70s? Like, I just don't see how that's possible. Anyway, !ArvCord for the Discord. Oh no, I said that, the Discord. I was talking about, yes, !Arv shop. !ArvTreon is the Patreon, of course, and that sub button right above the video window. And on the publishing side, !Icarus to pre-order my graphic novels, Icarus and Jelinek. Art for that is looking amazing. Library to pick up Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. Currently available in PDF form on DriveThruRPG, but will be coming out in print soon as everything gets unlocked from Wuhan, which hopefully will be happening sooner rather than later. And then, of course, !Grayshade KS, again, also going to be picked up sooner rather than later, so we're looking forward to that. No raid today. We have got, it's a Sunday night, and we just did a raid yesterday, and, we usually do raids, but not every time. So no raid today. I'm just going to say instead, thank you to everyone who made this awesome. Thank you to being lovely people. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Harudinel, who was here, of course, and I think was one of the main mods that was on. Other than that, we were just sort of checking in here and there. I was checking in, but that was it. So thank you, Harudinel. I appreciate it, man. Thank you as well to my subscribers, Harudinel for resubbing tonight, Nonstop, Lone Wolf, and of course, Trishy Matz. Good to see you, Trish. And of course, my wonderful viewers, Ariana Marie, Commander Root, Arenth, Michael Barrel. Is that right? No, sorry, Michael Harrell, I beg your pardon. Optic Nerve, Shelby, The Rising Tides, I know who that is. Turbo Tango, I know who that is too. You Christensen, Video Store Cowboy, and West River Rat. That's going to do it for me. Much love to all. Everyone stay safe, stay healthy, make sure you wash your hands. Physical distance, social closeness, you know the deal. And I will see you lovely folks Monday night for some Sword Coast Legends and Gromnir Grumblehammer. Until then, everyone, thanks so much for watching. More Blades in the Dark to come. More Speculate on Tuesday. I'll see you folks tomorrow night for Sword Coast Legends. Bye for now. Everybody good to each other.